Hi, my name is Gor Hovhannisyan. I was invited to give my bio. Thank you for that. I was born in 1975 in Yerevan. Then, when I was 8 years old, we lived in Moscow for 2 years, and there I started to play violin. And then we came back to Armenia, and I studied here in Armenia, in Yerevan. I went to the conservatory and I studied in the major viola performance, and also I worked in the radio orchestra, and I established my style as a composer during that time. My style is based on old Armenian modal system. After finishing my study at the conservatory in Yerevan, I went to Berlin, Germany, and studied there at the Hochschule für Musik Hans Eisler in the east part of Berlin. My teacher was Professor Carol Rodland from New York. She was a student of very famous viola teacher Karen Tartle, who was a student of William Primrose. I studied for 3 years in Berlin and then moved to Arizona with the class of my teacher Carol Rodland, who got a position there. And I was a teaching assistant for Carol Rodland during the time she was in Arizona, and then she went to Boston, and I stayed in Arizona. I finished my master's there. I also studied composition, advanced composition and viola performance. And when I finished, I came back to Yerevan. That was in 2003, and started to work in Armenian National Chamber Orchestra for a few months, and then I left it and I started to work in Armenian National Philharmonic Orchestra. And there I'm working there since 2004 up to now. But in 2006 and 2007 I spent time in Boston, New England Conservatory, where I worked also in the preparatory school for little kids, wind players, and they were mostly African American, and it was a big influence for me also, this working in the prep school. And then I came back in 2007 and I stayed in Armenia and continued my work in the Armenian Philharmonic Orchestra, and also we had also an ensemble which called Ensemble New Camerata, based mostly on the performers, musicians of Armenian Philharmonic Orchestra. This ensemble exists up to now, but before COVID started we had many concerts regularly, but now we have less concerts, we have more recordings. So this is my bio. As for my music, as I said, my music is based on Armenian modal system, but has many influence also from other cultures. And I have finished 10 albums, and first album is early works, and the second album is 8-part work based for music for Lent and Holy Week, based on the Evangelium of St. Luke. And third album is 2 pieces for Resurrection Feast, one for Saturday, another for Sunday. Fourth album is based on one sentence of Psalm 119, where it says, I praise the Lord 7 times a day. So this album consists of 7 pieces for praising on different hours. First piece in the morning, and then during the day, and the last one in the midnight. Fifth album was finished in Germany, and it is about the story by Agatangelos, which is about how Armenians became Christians, how Armenian king became Christian, and the martyrs, women who came from Rome, and they martyred. It's about their martyrdom. And the 6th album, I called it Desert in Fall, because I finished it in Arizona, and it has several little pieces. And 7th album I wrote when I studied composition in Arizona. It is called Music for Strings. It's very challenging technically for string players. 8th album is actually a viola concerto, which I wrote when I came back to Yerevan, and then we went to Shushi with a concert. This is a viola concerto. And when we went to Tbilisi with this National Chamber Orchestra, I composed my 9th album, which is 4 pieces, which is called St. Joseph's Dreams. First, second, and the third movement is about kids who were killed in Bethlehem. The second is the flight to Egypt, and the fourth is the return to Jerusalem. And the first song is when St. Joseph gets a message that his kid is the son of God. Now, album number 10, I wrote it when I studied in Armenian Philharmonic Orchestra. This is an album based on the songs by Mesrop Mashtots. This was the man who invented the Armenian alphabet. So it was written in 2004. Now I'm working on my album number 11, which is based on songs by Sahak Partev, who was the main bishop of Armenia. So, working chronologically, I will get to my music, which I wrote in later times.